The media is going crazy right now because Donald Trump dropped a little something that has them all very, very nervous. He did this interview on the phone with Kristen Welker from NBC over the weekend, and she asked him if he would want a third term, and he said, maybe, it's not a joke. Well, my gosh, they're going bonkers. Before I show you how upset they are, think about this. He actually could, technically speaking, probably pull this up. Whether or not he wants to, he did say to Kristen, look, I got enough on my plate. I'm trying to get everything going right now. I can't even think about a third term. But if he really, really wanted it, could he do it? Apparently. The Daily Mail actually went and dug something up that's kind of interesting, a paper that somebody had written actually back in the 90s on how a president could get a third term. So I want to share that with you. But first, it all goes back to this, the 22nd Amendment, which reads, no person shall be elected to the office of the presidency more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. So breaking that down, there's this Minnesota Law Review article that was written by somebody named Bruce Peabody, a professor there, the twice and the future president, and it outlines how basically this amendment has been subject to a lot of misunderstanding and concludes that the idea of any twice elected president is constitutionally prohibited from serving again is, quote, decidedly incorrect. How do you like this? According to the paper, we contend that the 22nd Amendment prescribes only the re-election of an already twice elected president. The key phrase in the amendment is no person shall be elected to the office of the presidency more than twice. And then it goes on to argue that that means a twice elected president would not be barred from later resuming the office due to the resignation or death of another president. So Trump could therefore run for vice president with Vance as an openly recognized nominal figure at the top of the ticket. Oh, kind of reminds me of Putin and Medvedev, right? Remember that? When Putin couldn't run for president again, so they stuck in Medvedev, but Putin was really running the show. Once he is sworn in, Vance could then resign, allowing his vice president, presumably Trump, to step into the office. The same procedure could actually be repeated in multiple elections. So this is what keeps liberals up at night. To win a fourth term, Trump would simply have to re-sign the presidency before the 2032 election and become the running mate of a nominal presidential candidate, which would be Vance or someone else. Woo! This is scaring them. Like they can't even go to sleep right now. The anxiety is setting in. They had to talk about it all on MSNBC because Kristen had just done the interview. Trump said it's not a joke. Maybe I'd look at it, but the reality is I got too much on my plate in the here and now. I got to get the country going again. Hear the reaction in the liberal media as they melt down.
Entertaining a third term. You first, David.
Believe him. I think the biggest mistake of the last 8 years is we somehow fail to give credibility to Donald Trump's whims and his impulses, but we know it's true. And January 6th was a perfect example. If he says that he's not ruling it out, he's not ruling it out, and we should consider it a constitutional threat.
Okay. Susan?
He's been pushing the envelope on testing the Constitution, so I expect, that he'll continue to do that, maybe by seeking out a third term. But more importantly, short term, we're not talking about Signal and that scandal if we are talking about Trump's third term.
Don?
Yeah, I think both of them are exactly right. Steve Bannon was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day laying out the very groundling seeds of how it's going to go down. And he said, listen, we are working on it. And by we, I mean the same people who work at the Heritage Foundation and these other well-funded, well-organized think tanks who are laying together the groundwork for things that actually come to pass. And the mainstream media and all of us on the left kind of blow it off as silly or improbable or unconstitutional. That doesn't matter to these folks. And I think you should take a third term or an effort at a third term as a legitimate campaign promise at this point.
Okay. I'm laughing at your comments because Leslie had the same reaction I did. Like I saw it and I actually sent it to some friends and I'm like, is there something wrong with me that I think that maybe this would be great? I mean, if the Constitution allows for it, right? So if we can get into the nitty gritty on the 22nd Amendment and actually find that there is a loophole, okay, I get it if it's not allowed. But, FDR was there forever. And I kind of think that there's unfinished business. Like there's a lot that has to get done. I mean, Pam Bondi's just getting started. We got Hunter Biden's ordeal there. You know, he was never registered as a foreign lobbyist. We got to get through the Russia hoax. There's a lot. The Epstein stuff. I mean, it just keeps on going, right, ladies and gentlemen? So it may take more than 3 years to get it all done. And so I certainly hope the Republicans, maybe J.D. Vance, win that next leg. But I had the same reaction. I'm just laughing, Leslie, because we're not supposed to say that, right? But in some ways, I'm like, Anyway, CNN has a very different reaction, predictably, and they're effectively saying that this would be some kind of dictatorship. I want to share it with you.
The 12th Amendment seems to preclude that. So really what you're talking about is either complete, and utter chaos outside of our system, some sort of dictatorship where we don't actually have elections, which of course we hope doesn't happen, or something where the former president would become the Speaker of the House and then the president and the vice president would resign, in which case, of course, you would see court challenges because that goes against the spirit, if not actually the specific words in this 22nd Amendment. So I think it's very much a long shot.
Well, maybe not. It's kind of fun to see them get all worked up, though, if nothing else, right? As we look at what they have done and we look at how they've trampled over the Constitution, I think, frankly, again, it's like a kind of gaslighting when they're like, oh, it's Donald Trump. And I'm like, no. Guys, it's you. It's you. You're the one who put Letitia James in, a George Soros-funded AG, to go after Donald Trump and to try and bankrupt him. You guys are the ones who put in Fannie Willis, oh, poor Fannie, who, by the way, was just caught somewhere else with that no-good boyfriend of hers that she kept lying about, and actually unraveled that entire case rather spectacularly. You guys put her in. You put in Alvin Bragg. Like, you put in all these people to try and take down a former president who was running for the presidency again. That was you. You're the ones who created this Russia hoax with Comey going out and putting honeypots everywhere he could to try and ensnare and spy on these different campaigns. You're the ones that forged the FISA document. I mean, for goodness sake, so that you could get a warrant to spy on Carter Page at Trump Tower back in 2016. And somehow you think he's the problem? Come on, no way.